2025 was a huge year for garage gym and home gym enthusiasts, as we had a ton of new product releases, but more importantly, we're seeing a really widespread array of different companies that are putting out high quality equipment, which one gives you more options and two can help save you some money as you used to only have a few options out there. Now for me personally, 2025 was a much bigger year than I realized until I kind of recapped it in an Instagram post recently, but I wanted to dive into some of my top favorite products that I use and picked up in 2025. Now, before I share my top piece of 2025, I want to point out a few things. Number one, this list is not a top 10 favorite pieces. Of course, I've got some favorites, but I base this list on versatility, the use case for me personally. So there's going to be some hypertrophy devices that I have that are great, but it's just not my favorite style of training. The cost and or the time savings that this allowed me to create within my workouts. Number two is that not all these pieces are from 2025. So please don't hate in the comments about this is an old piece. Of course, there's gonna be some older pieces in here. Not everything is brand spanking new. Number three is I tried my best to categorize these by standalone, rack attached, cable attachments. So I'm trying to categorize it a little bit for you guys. But all in all, I'm excited to share this first piece, which is this Dynabody Super Squat. As you can see, this is an extremely versatile piece of equipment. I picked this up from Carolina Fitness out of Charlotte. The idea came to me because of one of my favorite follows on Instagram, Neurologic Fitness, had one. And then when I started following him and some of the trainers like him, I started to see these pop up everywhere. We actually used to have one, it was a similar model, the Super Cat, in my high school, and I love messing around with it. But now that I understand a lot more about training, I see the full value that this provides. A few of the reasons that I'm a big fan is obviously the versatility. You can see through the movements that I was showing earlier, there's a lot of different options. Number two, it allows for max intent as you're able to literally squat, explode, jump, however you want to do it, versus with a hack squat or some of these other leg-based machines, you're not able to do explosive movements, and that's obviously an important part of my training. The next piece that I want to share that's a standalone is this Tough Stuff plate-loaded leg extension lying leg curl. I picked this up off Facebook Marketplace for a third of the price in which it costs, and I felt like it was a no-brainer. The previous solution that I had, which I'll share later because it's also going to be an included piece on my 2025, especially for those of you who are looking for something that don't have as much space, just took a little too long for me to set up, and then you have to take it off to be able to do other exercises on the rack. And when you're working with other people and or yourself and you're trying to get a quick workout in, it became a little bit of a painful movement. And this is something I use a lot, so it seemed like a no-brainer. I was also able to add this Hustler leg piece here, which is going to allow for a more full range of motion on the leg extension and leg curl. So all in all, great pickup. My next item might come as a surprise, but I picked up these Tid Bar Guy slant stacks, and I didn't buy the slant board, I just bought the stacks. So I actually bought 2 sets of 3 of these, so I have 6 total. And why I like these is they're each, I think, 2-inch increments. So I do a lot of front foot elevated, rear foot elevated, a little bit of plyometric work, and these are great for a quick, light apparatus to move around, especially when you're doing multiple exercises. So I love these for the versatility, and they're not super expensive, especially when you compare them to like some of those Rogue jerk blocks that are the really durable material. And I've actually seen Andy PL, who has a great garage gym review channel, do some lifting on these, which I don't think they're intended for, but he lifts up to, I want to say 400 pounds and drops on here, and they are good to go. So love this as a good addition to the gym, and I've found a lot of good use cases for it. Standalone items are from the same family, so I'm kind of going to include them all in one part of a pickup. But I got these OBR sprint units, the VBT tracker, so this tracks your velocity on your barbell movements or other, as I found. And then lastly, the OBR Jump, which technically I don't own, but I was loaned for a few months, and so I'm going to count it for this year. But all these tools are obviously very specific to performance. But what I've been finding is with my clients, it's a great way to introduce performance-based training to a subset of the population that normally won't care. It helps gamify it a little more, so people are more likely to chase the numbers, and you can get them to do faster movements that they otherwise would care less about. So all that said, love these as tools, and I've had a lot of fun with these, either tracking my data and or creating a lot of intent around my exercises themselves. Set is definitely one of my favorites. I haven't been able to use it as much because I've been nursing a foot injury, but that is the Dunk Camp Vert Trainer. So this is actually your traditional vertical jump tracker where you set it up, and it's very easy to use from a measuring perspective as well as setup. You can do it in probably 1 minute to 2 minutes tops. You can leave it set up as well, so that's awesome. The one advantage I would say the OBR Jump has over it is probably a quicker setup time, as well as you can track RSI and multiple jumps in a row. But what you cannot do with the OBR Jump is it's a lot harder to track that max intent. Like when you set this thing up, you can jump a lot higher because you are reaching for as high of a jump as you can get. That said, I love this. My kids love it. So big fan of this one. Another really great Facebook Marketplace I picked up was this Tsunami bar, which was about half the price of what they normally run. I love this item. It is a wild ride is the only way I can describe it. But this is great for oscillatory movements. So it really helps with teaching those muscles to relax and contract, and there's a rhythm to it, which is right up the alley of performance-based athletic training. But all I can say is if you had the opportunity to get one of these at a price, it's a great alternative bar to have in your arsenal. Two pieces of equipment that I picked up in 2025 that I'm going to touch on is number one, this Fringe Sport Midas open trap bar. The biggest reason I picked this up is my previous trap bar was not an open trap bar, and so it limited me on being able to do moves like rear foot elevated split squats, lunges, things like that. I love this thing for a couple reasons. Number one, it's compact. So I think sometimes I love the rep trap bar and having the ability to have a larger trap bar. However, it's huge, and in a garage gym, this thing's very easy to maneuver around. Also, this is a feature that I like a lot where you've got a deadlift jack. So I can literally jack this up, load plates on. Speaking of plates, this is the other addition that was a huge for me as well, is because of the length of the sleeves, I wasn't able to load the bar up to more than I think 365, 385, but now I purchased these weighted out plates that allow me now to get up to 435 pounds on this. So this is a much obviously higher number than previously, but these are amazing. They're super thin and very compact, especially when you don't have a long sleeve length on your trap bars. Over to my rack attached portion of the video, a lot of folks, including myself, would never consider or say that a Stroop band is a rack attached option. However, this has a special place in my heart because the first way that I utilized these Stroop bands, because of their length and the way that they pulled resistance wise, was on my rack. WM Fabrication fabricated this piece up here. I attached this, pull it down, and now I have reverse bands on the Rep Aries 2.0 to help those 10-pound plates be just a little bit lighter so that you can do movements like lateral raises and reverse flies, especially for folks who aren't as strong. All that said, these have a ton of versatility, as you can see in some of the movements I'm shown, but all in all, super durable bands, great pickup if you guys have the chance to in 2026. One more plug for Stroops. They make bands of all shapes and sizes. This thing I think is 30 feet. I can't remember. It's super long. But it's really cool if you're doing resisted sprints, or I've done overspeed training where I stretch it out and then run towards the insertion point of the band. And then the other thing I want to give a shout out to, this thing is super cheap, which is why I have it on the list. It's a great value. It's not like an extremely well-made belt. However, it's well-made enough. It feels comfortable, but it rotates around. So if you hook the band here and you do any sort of movement back and forth, it follows with you. So the belt itself does not twist up, which is a really simple but great feature. I feel like there's probably got to be some nicer, really nice versions out there, but this is an idea that I think is really awesome. Next rack attachment on my list is the goat attachment from Stray Dog. This is a really awesome attachment. The only reason I don't use it as much as I used to is because now I have a leg extension leg curl as well as the Dynabody for standing calf raises. However, this is still my go-to for seated calf raises, and it has a ton of versatility. If you are short on space, this is an awesome attachment if you've got a 3x3 rack. You can do so many different movements with it. And I think, honestly, they make a lot of attachments for it. So you can do things like chest supported rows, which I still utilize, seated calf raises, standing calf raises, leg curls, leg extensions, and all the movements feel pretty good. None of them, of course, are going to be as good as a standalone machine, but this is a $250, maybe $300 attachment versus spending $1,000 or $2,000, or if you want all those tools, $5-6 grand on different things. So awesome value, awesome versatility on this goat attachment. My next rack attachment is the Fringe Sport Mammoth Belt Squat. This was a collaboration with Kaizen DIY. He kind of came up with this concept, had a crazy like wood one that he made, and then born out was this thing, which is really sweet. So I've never been a big belt squatter guy up until this year, and I'd seen a lot of hype around it. I train other people who don't have the mobility range and or don't want to compress the spine. So I thought this is a really good addition to the gym, but really cool. Has a kickstand, so you can sit it down, stand up, put the kickstand, and go to work. So the other cool thing about this is there's a lot of attachments for it. I've seen, I think it's Porter Phys Ed and some others make different handles and things like that, and weight horns. So there's a weight horn that you actually can get handles on here, which I will attest I've rigged up the goat before and actually put some handles on it, and it does help just with stability. So I would highly suggest that, especially if you're trying to crank out some reps, you're going really heavy and you're really trying to stabilize. But all in all, really great pickup. Love this one from Fringe Sport, and if you wait for good Black Friday deals, you can get it for pretty cheap with all the accessories. Like I said, WM Fabrication had to make the list for this awesome goblet squat attachment. This is something I saw on Luke's Garage Gym Review YouTube Shorts, where he did a home gym con, kind of best, most innovative pieces. This made the list. I never even thought of doing a goblet squat on a cable machine. And frankly, when I saw this, I thought this is a great idea. Now, what's so nice about this is the attachment point is really close versus a close grip row machine is typically a row attachments, how people usually do them, but it's lower, so you can't get the full range of motion. So if you look here, I'm able to literally go all the way. I'm as low as I personally can go and then back up. So it's so much more comfortable on the wrists, so you can just crank these things out. My favorite use case for this, though, if you bear with me, use case is actually using this on the eccentric K-Pulley Go. This traditionally is a pretty tough machine to use for lower body, but this actually allows me to get over top of the machine and get a pretty vertical pull here, which is awesome. So this opens up another option with this device, which is an awesome one. But like I said, it's usually tough to do lower body exercises. But love the WM Fabrication goblet squat attachment. You guys should definitely pick this thing up if you have any sort of cable machine. This cable attachment looks like I'm about to jump out of a plane, but that's just how well engineered this thing is. This is the squat harness by Rosenblatt. Sorry if I butchered your name, but I think that's how you say it. But basically, you strap in here and you attach. They come with a ton of different attachments that you can purchase with them. I've seen people lift barbells with these. I have not used them for that, nor do I think I will, probably not. But all that said, you can actually hook these up to your cable machine and it feels amazing. I've never done a squat on a cable machine like this, and the resistance is consistent and constant, and it just feels great. I'm using a smaller box because I don't feel like lugging those jerk blocks. You can actually get away, probably if you have a lower cable attachment, without using too much of a raise. but I like to just raise it up just to make sure I get full range of motion, and literally just hit squats here. And it feels really good, but awesome pickup. I would highly suggest this if you're looking for any sort of squat harness. It doubles for a lot of other things. I've used it to strap up bands and things for plyometrics, and I'm sure there's a ton of other use cases I haven't messed around with yet. It's been one of my latest purchases, so I haven't had as much time to experiment, but great pickup. We're getting towards the end of my list here and into some of the traditional, considered bodybuilding-esque type tools. I've heard a lot of good things about the Track Handle Sports. I'll give a shout out to Gluck for sure. Awesome channel. I'm assuming you're following him if you're following me for any type of garage gym reviews because I'm tiny compared to him. But all that said, he gave a shout out to these as one of his favorite attachments. But what I appreciated is I've seen a few folks out there like Darko. I've heard make some great handles for these, and a lot of people kind of bitched and moaned about the handles themselves. And he said he really liked the handles. So I was like, I'm not going to worry about getting an additional handle. And I'll admit, they feel great. Like at the end of the day, I'm not a tough guy. I don't need knurled handles. These feel awesome to me. So at the end of the day, I don't really care. But what's so nice about these is they rotate 360 degrees and the handle manipulates around and spins. And so when you're getting into movements for like hypertrophy, oh, way too much weight on here. For things like flies, I mean, you can manipulate the handles however you want. So you can really like rotate your hands around. It feels really good for pulling movements and all sorts of things. And it actually creates a little bit of wrist stability that you have to maintain because it does move. But I find that really quick and easy to adjust to and figure out. But awesome pickup. Would highly suggest these Track Handle Sports if you have a choice to buy any one handle. These are probably the only handles I'll be using from here on out. On to some more cable attachments here. This is one of my final items. This is the Spiral Strength, I don't know, rope pulley, I guess you would call it. But the difference in this and a normal rope is, one, these cones are way more comfortable on your hands than a traditional rope. Two, this actually oscillates. So you can go to one hand, you can go two hands, you can go offset if you wanted to for any reason, but it feels great for cable, tricep extensions, overhead extensions, on. Like I said, you can switch it to one where you can pull rotational movements, whatever you can think of. This thing feels amazing. So I'd highly suggest this. Really good pickup on the cable attachment side. And my last cable attachment I'm going to talk about here is the Kodu gi grips. Essentially, I'm not a big jiu-jitsu guy, but this is made out of the same material. And I really like these for grip strength. But what I actually found that I utilize them for almost as much is different hypertrophy-based movements. Now, that might sound a little strange, but what I like about this is you can grip this from any direction. The old way of me doing this was using a towel. This is much better, it has a built-in carabiner. It doesn't rotate around. You don't have to refold it over, but I can grip it from here and pull. I can grip it from here and pull. You can do tricep pushdowns. I've done explosive grip strength with it, attaching it to my sled. I use it on the K Pulley Go, where I'm actually pulling up and using it to use for grip strength. So it's got a ton of use cases for it, but the most surprising for me was the hypertrophy benefits because of the way you can grip it and utilize like reverse flies and things like that. So love this pickup, and I'm going to share with you guys my last pickup of 2015, which was a self-production of my... So my last and maybe most proud pickup was because I kind of made it myself, is this isometric contraption box squat thing. I don't know what you want to call it. All in all, I was thinking about ways to gamify isometrics because they are quite boring if you're unable to see what you're doing. And I found this crane scale, and I will admit I'm not the originator, but I didn't know anyone else had done it, so I'm going to say that I originated it for myself. All that said, this crane scale actually measures weight. So what I did was I used an old rope jerk block, attached this piece here from Home Depot, bought this crane scale for $70, and then used my French Sport belt squat, or you can use a like row handle or anything if you want to do some type of back isometric, but it actually measures output. And in another video, if you're interested, comment, I'll send it to you. I actually figured out how to program it to hold your peak force. So for instance, it would be hard to tell because you obviously can't necessarily see the number as you're pulling, but if I hit this hold button and pull as hard as I can, it will actually hold that peak force, which that's a lot, but you're strong in that quarter squat position. all that said, this is definitely one of my most proud pieces. I thought it was pretty innovative. And then later I added these handles, which are just plumbing pipe that I mounted down so you can hold down if you're doing like a calf raise or single leg, and it just helps with stability. But that is my final list of my 2025 pickups. All that said, I hope some of these were helpful and this will help you steer your purchases in 2026. God willing, my 2026 isn't as big as my 2025 because my wife's gonna kill me. But thanks for watching and check out my next video.